Okay, so if you're starting out, this is acrylic canvas paper, because I apparently don't have any more watercolor paper here. I thought I did, but I don't see it. So you can either take your palette and just dunk it on there, or you can move it around with a paper towel. And like I said, you can leave some white. Doesn't have to be completely filled. It would probably be more interesting if there was some more contrast. So let's add some purple, because I already have purple over here. Let's add some purple. And I'm not thinking about where my animal's gonna go. I had made that, the one that I put the animal on, I had made that, I don't know, a long time ago. It's just been sitting here. So, you know, you just wanna be able to have, you know, something. Does this need any other color? I guess it could have a little red. You do have to be a little careful with red because it could look bloody, but it is a nice kind of contrasting color. But you'll see that there's still some white showing. I haven't covered everything. If you do this and then you don't like move it around, those areas will have a little bit more texture later, which is kind of fun too. All right, so that's how you do your underlayer for this project. All right, so we are gonna do a paint what you want class. So what you're gonna do is find a picture that you like. So for instance, a friend of mine that I'm friends with on Facebook, Mary Beth, posted this photo of a dog, and I was like, can I use this photo? And she was like, I don't care. And the owner didn't care. And so that's one version that you could do. Let's say you didn't want to do the paws. Just find a photo you like, figure out what you want of it, and then you can either print it out. I don't have a printer here at the Perry studio. Or what I'm going to do is adjust my settings here. Brightness. And I'm going to take it all the way up. Okay, so it's really bright. And then I'm gonna go back to that photo, and you're gonna want tracing paper. You can use whatever you have. I have this Blick tracing paper. It's generally what we carry. Sometimes we have something from Michael's. Doesn't really matter. Just something you can see through. You can even try to do parchment paper if you want, but it's a little harder. Now, if there are more contrasting areas on the photo, the better. Just so that you can see a little bit better, but I'm just gonna kind of go in here and do his little droopy dog ear. And you'll see I'm not trying to be like super perfect on here. I just want to get like his general face shape. Got this like white area, and then it kind of comes up to his mouth. Then he's got kind of like some double chin action stuff happening, and then that's his paw. There's a paw. This is like his body. We've got his nose. And then got kind of this little area. And then he's got kind of dark around his eyes. I don't know that we need that. If you touch it with your hands, the problem happens that it'll go away and you can't see it as well. If you print this out and do this and you can't see, if you stick it up to a window, it actually helps. See, you can't touch it or it moves it. And then you just, if you happen to kick it off a little bit, just try to figure out where your little main parts were. He's got some dark area right here. And some dark area right here. And then he's gonna have his eyes. I'm just gonna put that in because it's too hard to see through here what shape his eyes are. He has a little dark spot right here. So if there's like any kind of defining feature, I would add that. But for the most part, I think that's about it. And then with the eyes, all I'm gonna do is kind of go in here. They're kind of, I would say they're a little bit, they're not really almond shaped. We'll call them macadamia nut shaped. Okay, and so now that's our dog. Now, let's say we were gonna do this pug. Turn. And whose pug is this? I don't know, I found it on the internet. Should you do that? Probably not. But we're gonna change this so much, it shouldn't really matter. So I'm just gonna kind of go around, whoops. Try not to write on your iPad. And I'm just looking for the lines. And like the main characteristics that I can see here, we kind of have this, and they have these big eyes. This one is harder to see. And then we've got kind of this like drippy dark area. His nose is a little hard to see, so that may be something I have to kind of add on a little bit. And I was running out of space here too. So his right about here, it kind of comes down and out, and that's his body. And then he's got this little kind of like a frown-like thing happening. So then his nose kind of comes up this way, and we have a little bit of a scoopy in, little scoop nose. Okay. They have like big eyes, so I'm gonna leave those pretty prominent. I'm just looking to see, looks like I missed kind of some wrinkles right there. Maybe have a wrinkle right here, and then down his back, he would have some wrinkles. His ear, what I missed is that it kind of flops over right here. So like this is the outside and this is the inside of the ear. Same thing here, it kind of comes up, and then that's the outside of the ear and that's the inside of the ear. And then I feel like he has like more kind of wrinkles happening right here. So we're just gonna kind of add a little bit of that too. Okay, so whatever you have, whatever defining features that you have of whatever it is that you want to do, you're just gonna make a rough outline of some sort. I'm trying to figure out, let's see, I'm gonna do this droopy dog one. And then I just like to have that picture as reference so that I know what's happening. As far as sizing of what you need, he's a little small for this 11 by 14. So, I think what I'm gonna do is, if I have some acrylic paper, I can always cut it down to like an 8 by 10, or something that is, more manageable, I would say. Something that fits better, and of course, it does not look like I have that. So I'm trying to see what else I have. I do have this paper that has just stuff. This is watercolor paper. It has some glitter on here. Let me make sure this is in the shot. Yes. Has some watercolor or some glitter. It has just basically from where, you know, I've used a piece of palette paper, and after I get done, sometimes I'll just stamp extra paint onto something and then I just keep it. So this is watercolor paper. Does my guy fit on here? He sure does. So what I'm gonna do is I need carbon paper, which is in the back. Pause, and we're back. Okay, so either way, whether you were gonna do, you know, this size, or let's say I was gonna do this pug, I could turn it and do the pug that way. Whatever you are feeling like you want to do. And then you're going to put your carbon paper. You always, with carbon paper, want to put the dark side down so that it'll transfer. You also don't want to move that around a lot, because if you do that, you'll get black all kind of all over everywhere. All right. Trying to decide where I want him. I don't think I'm going to do like his feet and everything. I just kind of want body parts. So you can take a pencil, a pen, just something that's pretty sharp so that it will transfer that over. And you just are going to outline the lines that you did earlier. Does it have to be super perfect? No. Because the sketch we made super perfect? Also, no. And I'm just gonna do this. Now, the main thing whenever you are transferring like this is you wanna go and make sure you can see your lines. And then also make sure you don't miss anything, because it's easy to do, especially if if you use the same style kind of pen or pencil for the drawing and the thing. And these are, like I said, just kind of basic shapes so that I don't forget them. I'm kind of going back over even some of them just to make sure that I've pressed hard enough so that the transfer will happen. Okay, so I did that. I'm looking at this. I don't think I did that. I did this lip. I did this ear. So I kind of hold it and lift it up so that I don't mess up where things are. So if I need to lay it back down, I'm not having to like line anything up. Okay. I believe everything's there. It's not the easiest to see. So I'm gonna actually go back in with a Sharpie. You don't need to do this part if when you do this, you can see your lines. But because you're watching this video, you won't be able to see those lines very well as I paint, so I'm just gonna make it a little bit easier for you to see. But if you want to outline it, you obviously can. Nobody's gonna take your canvas away for doing that. And again, doesn't have to be perfect, although it does make it a little bit harder if you're going back in with this Sharpie, because that's another element we're gonna have to play with. But I want you to be able to see kind of what the heck I'm doing. And you may not be able to see that if and I feel like there's a line right here, and he has like body's going that way and that way off of here. We have his nose and his little spot. That's kind of the main parts of him. Let's see. Grab a palette paper. I will get a new one just so it's easier. And then I would just grab colors you like. I wouldn't necessarily be hung up on the colors that are already there. Actually, what I may do is add to some of this. I may leave a lot of this actually. So, for example, what you can do when you do a style like this is you could either leave the dog the colors that are inside, or you could leave the outside the colors that are outside, and then paint the outside something more simple. So if you wanted to have a dog that's more like the colors of your dog, what you would do is do this, and then you would leave this outside so that you could use that as like your kind of fun element. I think I'm gonna do the fun colors on the inside, and then I'm gonna make this a lot more neutral. So, by neutral, I mean, do I want to use Bahava? Maybe I'll use some. I don't remember if this was a boy dog or a girl dog. I think it was a boy dog. Not that that really matters, but I'm just gonna grab a few colors that I have. Okay. So these were just sitting there. I'm not gonna do anything super specific. I want something that's kind of neutral. And then this one is also neutral. It's called White Peach. It's almost like a pale pink. And then, do I want something else in there? Maybe some white. Since we have some white throughout here. Okay. And I did not get a bucket of water. I will worry about that at a later date. Okay, so I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to find, let me make sure that you are here, and then what I think I'll do is kind of zoom in a little bit too. And I remembered I have a new shirt on today, so I'm going to put my smock on over this shirt. Because everything I own has paint on it, but this shirt doesn't yet. So we'll try to keep it that way. All right, and you, like I said, you could do whatever colors you want. I just am gonna try to stay away from like the bright colors, because that way they focus a little bit more on our animal. This would be a great time for some Def Leppard Animal to be on, but I didn't even turn on the radio today. And I'm just going around. If I cover up my Sharpie lines, I am a-okay with that. If I don't, that also is fine, because we're kind of just playing and creating. Now, what you can do is you can do a couple different coats to make sure that you cover all of this stuff that's in the background. I don't really want to do that. If some of this pokes through, I'm okay with that. As long as the two aren't matching, I think you're good to go. The problem would be is if you just didn't do anything to one or the other, and then there's nothing for it to contrast with, then it's just not very interesting. And I'm just grabbing a little bit as I go. So like I'll grab a little of this. This is that kind of, I think it's called unbleached sand or something like, yeah, bleached sand. And then sometimes I will add some of that white peach. And then sometimes I'll grab a little of this white. And you could do this, see, I went over where his body is. Where is that line? I don't think I put it in with my Sharpie. Thought I did. So what you do is, it's a little harder to do on paper. I'm just gonna take a little water and scrub that off so that it is not there. See if this works on this. Say what I do, or do what I say, not what I do. We'll just add a little bit into that. Okay. So I'm gonna stop about right here for where his body's gonna go, and then right here is where I should have stopped. But again, great thing about this paint is you can just keep going with it. Now, if you had like huge areas that really were popping through, you could go back in with a little bit more paint. The what is coming through right here is not that big of a deal because we still have quite a bit of contrast there, so I'm not worried about it. But, you know, you've got to decide what you're worried about and what you're not worried about here. And then, cause I did a little mistakey, all I'm gonna do is look and pick a few of the colors that I know are there. So I know that there's some red. And I'm just gonna kind of dab in so that it looks like it matched what was there. Does that make sense? And then I know there's maybe some purple. So I'm gonna grab a little purple. Again, you don't need very much on here. Just a little, and I'm just dabbing my little paper towel in there. And then you can kind of dab. You can even drag and pull. Okay? That way, it makes sense to what is what. What's dog, what's background. I need a water bucket, so I'm gonna pause you again and go get that. Okay. I have let a little bit, it dry just a little bit, and now I'm like trying to figure out what I want to do with this. So I want to add a little bit more. If you're happy with the amount of stuff that's going on, you can let it be. This is also a good time to re-look at your picture. Let me get this open back up. Re-look at your picture and see if there's anything that you want to kind of bring out that maybe isn't there. So you'll see that there's a little bit of, let me make sure you can see that. Yeah. There's a little bit of difference on the edge here of his ear, okay? So, and then his body's a lot lighter than his ears are. So I'm gonna try to like play into that a little bit so that we kind of dial that up just a hair. So what I'm gonna do, I have this old thing of bubble wrap that we used. Actually, I used this for the flamingos last month. And we're just gonna add a little white, not everywhere because I want to be able to control it. And we're just gonna kind of tap that in to where he is lighter. Okay, you don't have to cover up everything, but you just want to be able to tell that he's a little bit lighter there. Now, on the edge of his ears, they're just a little speckly. I would call that speckly. So I'm gonna take one of the other colors that's in here. I have a little of this fluorescent pink. Again, I'm gonna kind of turn it so that it's not everywhere. And I'm just gonna kind of speckle out the ears on the edges. If I get in the outside, not worried about it, I can always play with that in a minute. Plus, we're gonna kind of have a loose outline in a little bit. So we've got that. Now we've got this area around his top of his head is really dark. And so what I want to do is kind of play up that darkness a little bit more so that there's a little bit more contrast, maybe play up this lightness. So we're going to go back to over here to the white. And you could use a paper towel for this. We're just going to kind of tap in. I don't want to cover everything again. I like, especially right around this area where he's a little freckly, I want a lot of that to show up, but just a little bit of difference there is great. Now, his dark colors, the dark color that I have here is either gonna be this dark green or this purple. I already had pulled a little purple, so I'm just gonna use that. I'm gonna kind of tap in right there. And the lines may not be perfect, but you'll be able to see why that doesn't matter in a minute. Okay, I don't necessarily want it to look like, sometimes we use this and we want it to look like polka dots or like dots. I'm just using it so that it's a little textury and it's a little, it doesn't cover everything like a brush would tend to. I think the ears are good. Might could add, you know, a little bit of darkness right here and like right here underneath the chin, but was that completely necessary? Probably not. Okay, but since we did it, we can just add a little bit. All right. And then the nose is going to be darker. I think I will use a brush for that. Or what you can also do is just use your Posca markers here in a little bit to kind of make the nose look more like a nose with like nostrils and that kind of thing, and just leave it that color. But because I've done all this other, I think I'm just going to go in here and make his nose darker. Okay, again, just using my finger. Straight lines doesn't really matter. That's not our end goal right here. And then maybe do a little darkness around in this kind of droopy dog eye part. The whole thing's not like too terribly dark, but a little bit. Just kind of help bring that eye down to help make it seem a little bit more droop doggy. And then I'm just going to kind of play with that if I need to. The main goal is I don't want a lot of straight lines, so just keep that in check. If this looks too weird, you can always go back in and add, you know, a little bit more white. Too much of that other color got on there, you can add a little bit more. It does look like maybe the back of his body is a little dark, and you can see a little bit back here. So the goal is, if you're making your dog a funny color, is let's not go in and add a bunch of browns. Because then it's going to be hard to read. Did you want it to be pop art? Did you not? Were you not sure what happened here? So you can be a little bit freer with that. Eye-wise, his eyes are kind of this like, almost like a blue-gray. So what I'm going to do is get a tiny liner brush. And I don't really want to grab another color. So I'm going to see what happens when I mix purple, white, and blue. That's too much blue. Maybe a little of this creamy color. And white. And it doesn't have to be, we're not doing realism, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to come up with a paler color. So around here, we're going to go back in with white, but he does have these kind of like pale eyes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just doing that one interior part, and then I'll come in and add the black pupils later, but I think I'm going to, and I'll do that with a Posca marker. So I just have that going. That's gonna be my other eye. This eye just looks a little bit bigger in the picture, so it's a little bit bigger on here. If you wanted to kind of even that out a little bit, because you're not gonna have that photo reference, you could enlarge one to make it a little bit bigger. The goal of this class is just to show you that you can kind of play with colors and it not be scary. And that when we paint things, which, you know, if you've been coming to the studio, you're well aware, they don't have to be like the color of the thing. You can have a purple dog, or you can have a blue chicken. I don't know. You can have whatever you want. Now, there is this lightness that kind of goes around that dark blue. So I'm going to add that in so that reads a little bit more realistic, I would say. But that's about as realistic as I'm getting. Now, let's say you got way out of the lines and you went a little like crazy with that outside. You can always go back in and kind of, you know, freshen up your lines if you need to. We are gonna do a loose outline with the Posca marker, which I'm gonna talk about here in a second. I've suggested those in the past, but you may not have invested in them, and they really are pretty amazing, okay? So, like I said, this is only if you go like super outside of the lines and are really worried about it. I don't want to do a lot because I don't want to cover up all that background stuff, but I did want to show you what you could do if you needed to do it. So, I'm going to talk while I talk about these markers, but this needs to be dry before you use them. One of my favorites is this Deco Color Premium Prime Premio, and they have, I have a gold and a silver. The place I've been able to find these are Amazon. I don't know if Michael's has them. I don't think I've ever seen them, so just, they're pretty cheap if you order them on Amazon. But this gold is the best because it has this really nice sheen. And so it's like super metallic-y versus sometimes you'll get them and they don't have a whole lot of sheen, and that's not as fun. So you have to use it for what it's worth. The silver of that looks a little bit more, almost more like white. This is the silver of that, Premium Prime. On this white paper, it looks more silver, but I have noticed it when I've used it in work that it reads a little bit more like a sparkly white, just so you have comparison. But I do like those as far as metallic ones. Now, they have these, and I think they have these at Michael's. They're the Bistro chalk marker. Do not get these, okay? These are great if you're gonna use it on like a chalkboard or something. But if you put this on art and then you do any kind of water on top of it, or you go to seal it, or you go to do anything, this goes away. It's a water soluble. Great for chalk, not great for painting. So just keep that in mind. I'm gonna see if I had a Sharpie one. Sharpie makes an oil-based paint marker that I do like. I don't have them here. I have them at the other studio. I like them. I like Posca better. So, you know, maybe get both and try them. The Posca is not like the cheapest marker on the market, I would say, but it's not the most expensive, and they last for quite a while. And they have lots of different fun colors. You can buy them often you can buy them individually. You can also buy them, I think I bought these from Amazon, and it just comes in a set. But the ones I use the most of are black and white, and then you know I like hot pink and I like aqua, so I did buy those too. On this, we're gonna kind of just look at this and see what we need additions for. We want to do a very loose outline so that you know what Sharpie is showing. You can do it. Now, question, why don't I just use a Sharpie right now? You can do that. They don't glide very well once you have a bunch of paint on. So, and they're permanent, but I don't know if they will run if you end up doing like a different step on top of them. The Poscas just kind of stay put and stay where they're supposed to go, but it does have to be dry. So that is something you need to think of. They also have thinner ones, probably. I don't have any thin ones, but they do have those. I believe these microns will also not move if you were to, you know, do something on top of that. It's like, I have one of these, and I'm just gonna kind of outline, so it's very, kind of separates that white and the other. You could not do that, it would be fine, but if you have some art supplies that you're like, I want to play with something, then I would suggest this would be a great time to pull things out, see how it works. This kind of whole painting is about play and seeing what you like. So what you'll do is once that paint is dry, you can kind of go in here with the Posca and make your pupils. Now, let's say you don't have a Posca marker. You could definitely do this with just a liner brush and black paint, and there would be absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I just wanted to play. That's really what this was about. So let's say I'm gonna kind of go in here and make this that thing, and then maybe I want to go in and add to his little freckles right here. So I'm gonna just make little dots with that black marker, or you could use a different color, however you want to do that. I just think that's fun. He has this kind of like thing that comes down his nose right here in the middle and then goes down to his little lips. So I'm going to add that. There is a bit of white there too, so I may go back in with my white and kind of add into that. And then we got some freckles down here. Okay. And you know, you could even, since these are lighter freckles, what we could do is do a little bit of white in there too. Now, if this outline, let's say you wanted to make this outline and you did your outline in black, then what you could do is go in with white Posca and add this. I'm gonna hold this way out here so it's really loose, and it just kind of makes this line, but it's not on it perfect. Okay, same thing over here. I don't want to be perfect. I just want it to kind of come up and around. Okay, and back here, and then maybe right there where his little body is. It's easier if you print this out, by the way, because then you don't have to keep opening your thing. And then he has that double chin, so I want to make sure that that kind of shows up there. It's a little shadowy right there, maybe scratching a little bit there. Because I'm looking at this little area right here, it's a little scratched in, or a little shadowed in. Let me go back out. So see how that's a little, right there, a little shadowed, so I just kind of scratched in right there. I want to reshape his head a little bit. So I've done that. And then his little area right here. May go back in actually with white on that, just to make that set up a little bit better. And that, just so that if anything is covered up or you missed anything, kind of add that back in. He's got this little face. Okay, go around here. See if there's anything there. And so what I may do here is just do a little something right there. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be everywhere. Maybe even do some white dots to have some contrasting freckles. Maybe do some like white dots down here, since it's a little spotty on the edge right there. And then is there anywhere else that maybe this is a little lighter, so that's fine. This is a little lighter. Maybe add a little scratching in right there. You could do, he's got some whiskers, so you could do a few little whiskers. I feel like his nose needs some nostril situation, and then a little bit more of a pronounced outline. Okay, that's pretty much it. Kind of do that, 'cause that's, I think that's just his back or whatever, but. And then let's say you wanted to go in and make him real fun, you could go in and do a little gold too. I don't think I would do it everywhere, but you could, you know, kind of add a little bit here and there just to make him a little bit more interesting. I think this one is kind of going out. If anything seemed a little not quite right, so let's say maybe a little bit in that little hole. I feel like he should have another little wrinkle right there. So you can kind of look in there and see if there's something that needs extra wrinkles or extra this or extra that, and add that. But really, he's just supposed to be fun, and he has a little bit of a sheen on the edge of his nose. So maybe we'll do a little bit of that. I don't love that, so maybe we'll rub that in a little bit. So it's not quite so apparent. Of course, that's the one color I do not have more of over here. I have a little red. Let's see about that. Just so that it's not all one color. Just a little bit more interesting that way. And that's it. That's your fun, colorful pup. So you can do your pup. You can do a pup you think is interesting. You could do any kind of animal actually with this same method. Just take something, it doesn't matter what. The next time you do a painting, maybe use it to dab off on that to create these kind of like a chaos layer. I have this full thing of mixed media stuff, and so I was gonna see if I had some other examples of this. Because I usually try to keep some of this. Looks like mostly what I have are palettes to use in mixed media, but I'm gonna have to start. I'm gonna have to start making more of these. Or for instance, like I have this from, I think, one of the ones we did last year. It's just a sunset of some sort. You can use that too. Like, it doesn't really matter what it is. You can it just, as long as it has some variance, I think it would be interesting. But I think the ideal method would be just to take some watercolor paper or mixed media paper or acrylic paper. Any of those would work. And just dab on, here's one. This would not have as much contrast because it's just blues and golds, but you could use that as well to do an animal. It would just be more monotone than what that is. But I hope you have fun with this, and I hope you create all sorts of fun little animals to show us. And, you know, I want you to show it off in our the Lush Club group. I'm gonna kind of add his eyes back in. I feel like they got lost just a little bit. And like I said, if you do not have Posca markers and you're like, I don't know if I want to invest in that, I think you'll really like them. They're a lot of fun to play with, as is this Deco Art Premium Prime Premio. It just makes a difference. I don't know why. I've tried a bunch of gold ones, and then a girl that I take class from loves those, and I ordered some and I was like, oh, I do love those. So they're pretty nice. And that's it. So again, we have, you know, a little bit lighter of the body, just like the picture was. We made some of the areas that were darker, just so that they show up better in how they're here. I do believe that he had like a little bit of a white on his mouth, so we're gonna add that in there too. All right. Thanks for joining me. See ya.